Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. If it's Thursday at 7, it must be time for the Squared Circle Maniacs Pro Wrestling Podcast.
We're back, baby. We're back. I'm excited. Go ahead, Johnny. I'm excited.
Through the magic of Wi-Fi, we are bi-coastal. My name is Johnny Bottles. I'm operating down here in Florida. To my left is Dancing Don Wayne. The neckbeards love him on Twitter. They can't get enough of him. Down below, we have the magnificent Motorhead, the grand poobah, if you will, of the Squared Circle Maniacs Twitter group. We are three like-minded individuals that like sitting around. We're just fans, people. We're just fans. We like sitting around talking about pro wrestling. That's what we're going to do right now for the next hour. We'll try to keep it to an hour, folks. But
it will be an hour.
Do I have your word on that?
You do, because we got to get to this right away.
Fantastic.
We were talking earlier this week that it had been a slow week in wrestling. Bad show, bad wrestling, bad everything. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, SCM crew members, all the new guys. Slow week, and then Liver Spot King returns with a contract with his piss-watered boot. We got it all going on now, baby. We got the Liver Spot King by Sting side. We got Pisswater is officially sponsored by All Petite Wrestling. It's all going down. And it's not just a year. It's just not a couple of matches. It's a multi-year contract that Ric Flair has signed for not just himself, but the pisswater he swindles out there like the snake oil salesman that he is. You have got to be shitting me.
Auto warranties, marijuana, CBD. Christopher says, I have a huge announcement. AEW is now a retirement home. Yes, Chris, we're changing the name of AEW to All Elderly Wrestling. That's right. What it's going to be now.
It's going to work. Can you believe this horseshit? Motorhead just found out. He was reading it before we went live. Motor, what was your initial thought to this blockbuster huge announcement?
I'm still kind of taken back by the whole thing. You know, what's that saying? Desperation's a stinky cologne. And now they're going to peddle his energy drink throughout who knows how long. It's going to be in the locker room. It's going to be endorsed everywhere through AEW. And he's going to do what now, though? A multi-year contract. Is he going to wrestle? Is he going to manage? Is he going to?
I predict Motor, he's going to be Sting's final opponent in March of this year at that pay-per-view. He said he'd like to have one more last match.
Yeah.
And I predict that he will be Steve Borden, you know him better as Sting, his final opponent. Sting will be 65 years old then, and Ric Flair will be, I believe, 74.
Well, it's a good thing that Sting's only allergic to, jackasses and not sexual predators, or he'd be breaking out in hives right now. I mean, Jesus Christ!
Is that a thing to get itchy from a sexual predator? I guess you could. Yeah, I guess you could.
Yeah, I think scabies are real, brother. I can't believe this has happened, and it goes further. Just my mindset here, right? So, if you're going to have a guy involved, he's got to have an angle, right? You can't just bring him in and say, "Here's Ric Flair," right? You got to have an angle. You got to have a storyline. Are they going to create him like the GM type role now? Because you can't just have him sitting in the corner, man. And I know, Chris is going to bring it up now. He talked about it. He wants to fight MJF. Okay.
He did say that. He says a lot of things, too. He says a lot of things. He also says he had sex with Halle Berry.
He did say that.
He did say that.
We are in the bad book of ideas. This is beyond sad. Everybody in the AEW fan base ripped WWE for bringing out Undertaker and John Cena on the NXT show. What? This is even worse. This is the most desperate thing I think I've ever seen in wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
Stumbling ticket sales, stumbling everything. Let's get the stumbling drunk and put him in the ring.
Dude, the ticket sales aren't stumbling. They're on life support right now. They're in the ICU of Ticketmaster. They're on the ICU. They are near death.
Yeah, how was that?
Johnny, what can you do with it?
I think we should, if Tony's watching this, because he does peruse some pro wrestling podcasts. Tony, if you're watching, just buy TNA from Anthem. Impact Wrestling changed their name to TNA. Buy it back from Anthem. Put it on TBS. Put it on TNT, and roll back the clock to 2008.
Yep.
And get Russo back as a writer.
Yeah.
Hire Hulk Hogan Eric Bischoff, bring
Oh,
them all
dear
back.
God.
Bring them all back. You got Samoa Joe. You got Sting. Yeah, you got all those guys. Bring them all back.
Come on, Tony, think about it. Do it.
I'm speechless by the insanity that is happening right now. The entire process and the thought process going on. You cannot put Ric Flair in the ring to have a match. I don't give a shit how much he begged you. You're asking for a death on live television.
The man has a pacemaker.
Yeah.
He wears a pacemaker. He'll be wearing that for the rest of his life.
Still drinks like a fish.
Still drinks like a fish. He's filling that bag up right now, even as we speak. And I mean the bag strapped to his ankle.
Oh, Don.
And look. The desperation is so thick up in Jacksonville, Florida. It's blowing downwind here to where I'm at in Central Florida. I can smell it in the air. Tony Khan is so desperate to produce ratings, to break 1 million, to have massive pay-per-view buys. The ticket sales have fallen off a cliff, as we saw last night by that Dynamite they ran last night in Kentucky. They had a 22,000-seat arena set up for 8,000 people, and they couldn't even sell 8,000 tickets. With Ric Flair, with Sting, with all those people. Flair wasn't on last night.
They sold less than 4,000 tickets.
Less than 4,000 tickets.
They sold less than 4,000 tickets in a 20,000-seat arena.
Who books these arenas? Jeff Jarrett? He's in charge of live events. If he's the one actually procuring the leases for these arenas, he's out of his goddamn mind. It's ridiculous.
I've been saying it. I think we've all been saying it for months on Twitter. Hey, man, stop booking these ridiculously oversized buildings for your show. Case in point, right? We don't watch Impact. Sorry, TNA. We're back to Tits and Ass. I forgot they changed their name. But they had a pay-per-view or something a couple of weeks ago at a smaller building. It looked great. The place was filled up to the max. Ohio Valley Wrestling, that show that was on Netflix. The building was sold out. It looked great. It wasn't a huge crowd, but it was the way it looked, man. It had the look of big-time wrestling, of pro wrestling. This is none of those things.
Motorhead, he's got big dreams. That little boy up in Jacksonville,
yes, he does.
He's got big dreams. He dreamt to be he dreams to be a soccer mogul. He dreams to be a football mogul, and now he has dreams of being Vince McMahon. And he can't wash Vince McMahon's rubber underwear. He can't handle it. He
I don't think that's all that's rubber that he plays with there, pal.
Exactly, pal.
Got a fleshlight moving in one direction.
That's
damn,
right,
pal.
And here's the other part.
Put new batteries in that fleshlight, pal.
Here's the other part that gets me about this whole thing is Tony Khan's been ripping Vince McMahon over the sexual allegations and the payoffs that he did. Right. And then you go and hire a guy that's done the exact same thing, just worse and more known now. Come on, man. You can't be that damn naive in what you're doing.
You're a boss to many, many beautiful women. And you enter into a consensual relationship with many, many beautiful women, some all at the same time, because you're Vince McMahon. You're a billionaire. And if someone threatens to go public with all your little kinks, with all your little foibles, with what you like done in bed, things like that, and it's a bad look for you,
tickle the tape.
You pay him a couple $1 million and say, see you later. And maybe take tickling is on his list. His laundry list of things he likes to do in bed.
Motor, you got anything else on it? Because we can move on. It's just, I'm shocked this happened.
I got one more thing that's swirling around my head. It's AEW, their dynamic anyways, is all over the damn place. Now you put Flair in the mix, and that dynamic, if he even had a little bit of it, is completely shot to crud, if you know what I mean. Now you got the old guy in the mix, and Tony Khan, who still can't book himself out of a wet paper bag, is going to try to figure out how to put Flair in some of these matches or angles, if he even puts them in angles. And I'm sorry, but it's just not going to work, man. I just, and Flair, it's over.
It's over.
Yeah, we've been fans of it for a long time, but this, to me, I'm sorry. I don't like the move. If it's the last attempt to grab cash, great. He's going to get it, but his legacy is going to get drugged further in the mud, and I think it's terrible. So I'm going to end on that one, guys.
All I can say is I love Ric Flair. I preferred Flair over Hogan back in the 80s. Ric Flair was, I I was exposed to the WWF in the late 60s, early 70s, when they were on the local UHF outlet near me before cable TV. And once cable hit, I was exposed to... Once cable... What are you laughing about?
I keep thinking you're going to say Ric Flair's exposed himself to me. It was a Marriott in Georgia. I'll never forget.
Were you on that plane ride? Bottles?
He said, boy, get my bags. Little I realized he would get my bag. But, no, he said,
oh, God.
I was exposed to, oh, God. I saw, back in the early 80s when I was a little boy, I saw Ric Flair for the first time.
I'm going to have to mute my microphone in a minute. Jesus. I can expose myself. Oh, my God.
I saw Flair, heard him talk. I said, I'm hooked on this. I'm hooked on that guy. I don't care how much vodka or cocaine he's got in his system. That is an entertaining MFer, Ric Flair. And I saw that, don't tell me Flair helicopter Johnny.
It's gone to hell. It's gone to hell. It's gone to hell.
I had to wipe the print off my glasses back then.
Sweet mother.
Of that helicopter. Good Lord Almighty. No, he never done that. He never did that. I saw Flair on the NWA. Loved him. Like everyone else did. Loved the promos. Loved the whole thing. Loved the whole presentation of the NWA. And I never went back to WWE unless they had Saturday Night's Main Event, special things like that, pay-per-views I got, of course. But that was for kids. And the NWA was the nitty-gritty. They had Flair, Andersons, Tully, Rock and Roll Express, the Road Warriors. They were the adult version of the pro wrestling for adults. I'll put it to you that way.
I would agree with you. It had harder angles. It was more hardcore. The only thing they lacked was their presentation. They just didn't have the overall presentation that the WWE had with the spotlights and the promos and the caveats. Here comes a new guy. We're going to interview. We're going to bring him in slowly. We're going to have all these little vignettes on it.
That's what Rick said to me. That's what Rick said to me when he exposed himself to me. Here comes a new guy. I'm going to bring him in slowly.
Out of the bag now, buddy.
Chris has a question. How long until TK brings in Goldberg and Hogan? Hogan
Not long.
never comes
Not
in.
long.
No, I don't think Hogan ever comes in again. I think Hogan's done.
He was talking to Goldberg.
Goldberg, I would believe.
Goldberg wanted too much money. He tried to get Goldberg for Wembley Stadium, and Goldberg wanted too much money.
Yes, I did hear that. He wanted millions and millions.
Close to $10 million for an appearance, for a contract for a year. And I think Hogan would come in as an authority figure. One last match. Harley
don't do that.
won't leave his feet.
No. God,
Why not? Why not?
I don't want to see Flair, let alone Hogan, who's even more beat down than he is. So
No.
I
think Hogan's ex's banned from AEW backstage. Is that right? Did I hear that right?
Yeah, Hogan is banned from attending AEW shows currently.
Yes, because of the he made a few unfortunate racial comments years ago. Yeah, on a hidden camera.
And a drunken stupor.
Yeah, while he was banging his best friend's wife.
Yeah, that sounds like a perfectly normal activity to me. Everything was normal then. So it's fair that we go ahead and we take a moment now to shit on what was Raw this week, because this has been running through my head ever since I saw the clip. Every now and then, I don't know who it is in creative or who has the input, but we had a Peter pumpkin eater on Raw again. Every year at Halloween, somebody's in a dumb costume or we have a stupid pumpkin spot. Every single year. And I saw it this week, and the girl drops the jack-o'-lantern on her head, and I said, okay, I think I'm not going to watch this dumbass show this week because this is clearly for kiddies. I have no interest in this. It's back to just being sports entertainment. I didn't like any of it. I thought it was a terrible way to do your go-home show when you're going to Saudi Arabia this weekend. Bottles, you watched it, I'm sure. Was the show worth a damn, or did I see the complete low light and I'm good to miss it?
Unfortunately, I watched it I don't watch it live. I watch it maybe an hour behind, hour and a half behind. You know that. We've talked on the phone several times. When you called me up and say, man, you want to see this shit? I said, what happened? I haven't turned it on yet. I'm recording it. So I do that so I can fast forward through the garbage, Fast forward through the commercials, of course. I'm sick of Seth Rollins. I'm sick of the Halloween matches. I'm sick of Judgment Day being closing every show out, being the focus of the show. I'm just sick of it. They're the new bloodline for Raw. That's what they are, essentially.
And
I just
they're
get tired of
beating
it.
to death. They're beating it to death.
But the problem was a lot of the talent was in travel to Saudi Arabia, which is a long flight. And they do promotional tours over there, on local radio and TV and all that. They get people psyched up for the show. It's sold out. And last I heard, they were reconfiguring the arena, the seating, to try to get a couple hundred more seats in.
Wow.
Into that arena.
For a private sold-out show. Unreal.
They're doing that for a Survivor Series also. Survivor Series is nearly sold out, and they're trying to figure out a way to fit in a couple more thousand people.
Right.
WWE's on the upswing, man. There's no two ways about it.
No, I don't
WWE is just
disagree.
kicking
No.
ass.
Yeah, I
Pro
don't
wrestling's down. It's not like it was back in the millennium, the turn of the millennium. 99 to 2000, where it was one of the hottest things on television. It's not like that now, but it does outpace a lot of shows on cable TV. Raw's usually, without pro football, Raw's usually the number one show on cable. SmackDown, by far, number one show on Friday nights on a network television show. It's amazing. I can't figure out how AEW is fumbling the bag, as the kids say, mishandling their roster. They got one of the best rosters around. But anyway,
I know how.
The highlight of the whole thing the highlight of the whole show for me was the debut of the Creed brothers.
I kept hearing about them, and I did see some clips on them. And the first thing I read was the Creed brothers will be tag team champions within a year.
Unbelievable.
Apparently they're that good.
Unbelievable, dude.
Yep.
Julius Creed, who's built like Kurt Angle, lifted Otis from the Alpha Academy. You've seen Otis before, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah.
The Michelin Man.
That's my boy.
Just a hunk of beef. 350 pounds. Julius Creed got underneath Otis and lifted him up, squatted upwards. And his brother, Brutus Creed, I think what did they call it? I forgot what the name of the finisher was. Brutus Creed comes off like a cannonball off the top rope and knocks the guy off of Julius's shoulders, and then he pins him. That's their finisher.
That's not a very fun bump to take, I'm sure. That's like the Road Warriors coming off the top rope and clothesline the clothesline of doom. Good Lord.
I've seen him in NXT when he's whiffed it once or twice. He barely touches the guy on the guy's shoulders. Barely touches him.
I'll tell you what.
It's worse for Brutus. The landing's worse for Brutus because he's holding his knees. He's all rolled up in a fetal position when he flies off the top rope. So the landing is worse for Brutus than it is for the guy receiving it. The Brutus ball. The Brutus ball, yes. If you picture Kurt Angle crossed with the Steiner brothers, those are the Creed brothers. I'm not lying. Next big thing, they had a match on NXT Tuesday night, and Julius Creed went through a table. No, he went through a ladder, and he's got this laceration and this huge abrasion going from his shoulder blade down to his ass on his back. I mean, it was bad. It looked like someone took a belt sander to his back. He wrestled the match, went through a table, did all kinds of crazy shit. These boys are beasts.
All right, I'm going to look forward to seeing them.
Seek out that match. I think the whole match is available on YouTube. The Creed Brothers debut. Fantastic.
I'll have to seek it out. Because you asked earlier, you don't know how AEW's not getting in the numbers when everything's going up for wrestling. Did you see what they let off with last night?
I saw. Your favorite wrestler of all time.
What a jackass.
Orange Cassidy.
My favorite. Dude, everything. It's gotten to where I can't stand Claudio anymore. I can't stand anything he does. I can't stand any of his uppercuts. I can't stand his wrestling. I don't want him on my TV anymore. I see why the WWE got rid of him. There's nothing there.
Dude. He's biding his time. He's just getting paid, and he's trying to do as little as possible, thinking, what a shit show this is. I know he is. How many guys go out in that ring and say, I'm performing in front of 2,000, 2,500 people. I was performing in front of 15,000 when I was in the WWE.
Right.
Look at this shit. And I'm wrestling this guy who's as big as my thigh. Come on, man.
It was so bad.
Motorhead, what are they doing? Look how they're treating my boy. Look how they massacred my boy, Antonio Cesaro. Look how they massacred him.
AEW is still doing exactly what they've been doing, and that's. Are you all right?
Go ahead.
Doing not putting anything together cohesively, throwing shit together, keeping the same people out, and then you still got the fans that wonder why in the hell are the ratings going down? Why in the heck is nobody tuning in anymore? Why after the first 15 minutes, quarter hour, whatever, it'll go from 800,000 down to 700,000, then down to 600,000. I wonder why. Because when you're putting together a clown show like they've been having for weeks and weeks and months, people eventually are going to get tired of it. Even the diehards, especially now that Flair's in there. I read a bunch of stuff on Twitter how a bunch of the neckbeards are like, well, I'm not watching AEW anymore. They got Ric Flair in there. So I just think it's running into a brick wall over and over and over again, and Tony Khan doesn't learn.
They've got 600,000 AEW weekly watchers, people that are big AEW fans and will watch the show live every week. They can't afford to lose anymore. I know they did. That rating was what?
830, I think. 836, I want to say. It was something in that neighborhood last
You were right. 832,000
Yeah.
watched that shit show last night. And I guarantee that they watched it because they thought someone new was going to debut with that huge announcement that he was going to make. But we'll get to that later. We're still on Raw right now.
Oh my God, the announcement! I'm out of Raw. I'm done with the pumpkin show. That shit.
If you didn't see Raw, just for the people watching right now, look for the Creed Brothers match on YouTube. They were against Alpha Academy. It was a great match. The four guys who really are just fantastic. Even the girls got into it. And don't sleep on Ivy Nile. Ivy Nile's a badass. She
Sure
dabbles
is.
in MMA, and she's jacked. She's like 5'0", but I love to see her actually take on Charlotte or Becky Lynch or somebody of some kind of notoriety.
So Chris is bringing up a point I was going to talk about: the orbital bone of Daniel Bryan, or whatever, Bryan Danielson. Don't give a
Right.
shit what you call him. Is
Right.
I'm starting to think that's a work and not a real injury.
Not a work.
You don't think so?
Not a work. Supposedly
So he's legit hurt.
He didn't get that when he was in a tag match, when he took that punch from Okada. Supposedly he got hurt during that Andrade match on Collision. When he
that
wrestled
would make more
Andrade.
sense because I didn't see anything in this match that could have really done any serious damage when it happened last week.
He got
That was very
hit. He
painful,
collapsed.
too.
He
Very
got hit, Motor, and he collapsed in the corner and held his face. But he got back up again. And I'm sure the punch from Okada to the face didn't help matters, and he probably jostled it loose. He probably got a fracture, and then he probably broke that son of a bitch in the match with Okada. So
Can someone please tell this guy to get out of the ring before he dies too? Because every time he gets in there, he's breaking an arm, he's getting a concussion, he's tearing some ligament. Every time, man. Every time.
in Ring of Honor, his big opponent back in the day when he was the American Dragon was Nigel McGuinness, who's a commentator for Collision on AEW. That was his big opponent. And the concussions from the headbutt contest that they would have. They'd sit on the top turnbuckle and headbutt each other.
Yeah.
Danielson had a detached retina from a headbutt and a concussion from McGuinness. McGuinness had multiple concussions from the style that he would wrestle. So when he went to a tryout for the WWE as an in-ring competitor, they ran through a battery of tests and said, dude, you're done. Your wrestling days are way behind you now. You're done. You're having trouble, remembering shit. So Nigel McGuinness found new life as an NXT commentator until they let him go.
Either way,
It's sad.
He's
sad.
out again, and that's one guy that will not admit that his career is at the end. Like, it's time to get out of the ring, man.
Hell of a
and do
wrestler.
something else.
Hell of a wrestler takes too many chances. Wrestles too unsafe. If he was in the WWE, he wouldn't be wrestling that style. They would put the brakes on him right away,
Oh,
like they did several times in the past.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you want to run through some of the lowlights that were last night on this Dynamite bullshit?
Oh, God almighty.
We already touched on it first. The Orange Cassidy Claudio thing was just terrible. I couldn't wait for this to end. I
And then
wanted to
Moxley
see my
came
boy.
in. Mox came in at the end.
Oh,
Wow,
yeah.
Jesus, we really needed to see that, didn't we?
Yeah, the toughest guy on the planet, John Moxley. Oh, God Almighty.
I'm gonna beat you up now that you've already had a match. I'm so tough.
He's a guy who was out with a concussion, so he delivers 50 closed fist punches to the head of Orange Cassidy in the ring.
It was just such
What?
a... It was
What? And then he's
Lame-o.
pushing equipment around the back room when they cut to him in the back.
Yeah.
And he cuts a promo that just rambling, a rambling promo.
I'm so bad at this box.
Awful.
And Renee Moxley, good at her backstage interviews, is just it's getting over the top, man. She's becoming the Aubrey Edwards of interviews. It's getting over the top. She's trying to take the spotlight, man, and I'm seeing it more and more. And
Dude.
I know I'm not alone.
Dude, she's trying whatever she can to breathe some life into that show. Is what
Yes,
she's
she
trying to
is.
do. She's trying to make it make sense. I give her all the kudos in the world for trying to be professional and trying to make it make sense. What do you want in the back? You want Officer Bar Brady, as Cornette calls him, whatever the hell that guy's name is. That water cooler head yo-yo with the
I don't
glasses.
even know the guy's name.
I don't know his name either.
And the other part
He
about-
looks like his head looks like a big pickle barrel. And who you want? Wheezy Shivani? You want Wheezy Shivani
God.
back there? Oh, it's the greatest scene, the greatest night in professional wrestling.
the other part about
Great
this
guy.
match was when he did run in the ring and start getting, and the idiot came down there and started beating up Orange. Claudio just stood in the corner like, I'm here.
Yeah.
I don't know what to
Just
do.
hung
What do
out.
I do? Oh, I guess now I'll start fighting the bodyguards with my buddy.
Because
It
he
was just-
think-
it didn't
You
make any
could tell.
sense, man.
You could tell by his body language. He thinks it's ridiculous. He
The whole
thinks
thing was
the whole
stupid.
thing is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he's riding it out. His wife still works for Sarah Del Rey. She's still a trader in NXT. She still works there. He's riding it out. He met her in NXT and married her. She's still there, but he got cut. And he's just... Actually, no, he didn't get cut. He opted not to renew his contract. And
Good
now
for
he's
him.
in this nightmare.
Good. Go over there and watch, because I don't want to touch on everything in depth, but then they go backstage, and John Moxley's looking like a moron, and he's inept, begging
usual.
someone to be his partner. Just
You know what he looked like, Don? He looked like a drunk guy outside of a bar at 1:50 in the morning who's pissed off at a guy who's in there talking to his girl.
That's a good one. Yeah,
That's what he looked like.
that's what he looked like.
he's backstage trying to recruit Kenny Omega, and then Chris Jericho.
Wait, who are we talking about now?
door.
Who are we talking about now?
Shut
After
the
the match
door.
when
You said
Moxley was
Moxley.
backstage? Yeah,
MJF.
Yeah.
yeah, was backstage trying to recruit
Okay.
Omega, and
Right.
then Chris Jericho enters the door and slams it, making
Right.
him look. Why don't you just cut his balls off right there? Just cut
Right.
his nuts off. No, that wasn't even the worst part of cutting his nuts off. The worst part was when his ex-partner, his ex-bodyguard, we haven't seen in months, Wardlow, comes out and starts choking him up against a brick wall, and he looks like the most feeble heavyweight champion ever. Can you imagine Stone Cold getting choked out and not trying to fight back? Can you imagine The Rock
no.
getting choked out? I mean, it's
Yeah,
just
that was
terrible.
ridiculous.
Stone Cold would have delivered a kick right to the nuts of Wardlow because they weren't in a match; they were backstage. By the way, we talked about this on the phone last night. You never knew it was Wardlow until someone in the crowd started going, "Wardlow."
Yeah, they never
Right.
showed his
Wardlow.
face.
Never showed his face. He had a baseball cap on. You couldn't see the man bun, which is a telltale sign that you're dealing with Wardlow.
Yeah.
But it was. I just look. I give them an E for effort. They're trying something. They're trying
God,
something.
bad. So bad.
Somebody is writing something for this show. They're not just throwing people out there. Someone's writing something, trying to have some kind of cohesion to the show. It's a storyline that was woven throughout the show. Him trying to find tag partners because he's a douchebag. Nobody likes him. And nobody would want to tag with him except for some people we'll talk about later. Next up, Don, we had the Mogul Embassy versus the Young Bucks.
You can get right
And
over this, 'cause
Hangman
I
Page.
Whoa.
didn't watch a minute of this shit.
Nope.
I waited till it was
Like the
over.
Young Bucks, I turn it off. Bye bye Bung Yucks. I won't even waste my damn time to watch them.
280-pound men wrestling like Hawk and Animal, the Road Warriors.
I'm done with them.
I
I switched back and they lost, and I said, "Thank God, I don't care how it happened. I don't even give a shit."
I saw the size of their opponents, and I said, "There's no way that these guys are going to sell for the Young Bucks," but they did.
Wow. What a surprise. What a surprise, right?
Yeah, because you got the two damn heads of or one of the VPs of the company. You got to sell for them. I got nothing for it, man. That was such bad shit.
One of the Young Bucks, they did lose their ROH trios tag titles, and they lost it back to the Mogul Embassy, who had it before. Months ago, I don't know when. I don't watch that garbage. And one of the Young Bucks had a nervous breakdown ringside, taking a steel chair, beating it against the ring post, smacking people, throwing tables around, flipping a table over. It was so Bush League. It looked like a little kid who got a bad grade in algebra and went home and trashed his bedroom.
Garbage. Then after that, they had some more bullshit. Adam Copeland came out, and we got to hear from him. And here's my issue with this segment, right? And I want to get this off my chest, okay? Adam Copeland did a fine job. Not mad at him, not upset. Johnny, your face is blurred. I think you're going to a witness protection program.
I'm a little blurry, pal. I lean forward.
So here's my issue with this, right? He's been going on and on and on the whole time about not wanting to fight his friend, right? He's not going to fight his friend. Not going to fight his friend. Well, we have this big schmoz, right?
Yeah.
They haven't touched yet. The thing to do here, and I'm a wrestling fan, I've been watching this long enough. The thing to do here is that when Christian turns around and Edge is ready to spear him, Christian realizes that and rolls out of the ring. So they don't touch until the pay-per-view. They don't touch until they actually get in the ring for a match. This took almost all of the heat off of this angle for me. All of it. It made no sense to me. Motor, what did you think? Am I chasing a foul ball here?
No, you're not chasing a foul ball at all, man. That was just it was what do they call that? Besides the term a big letdown. It went in a direction that I didn't foresee coming, but when he got out of the damn ring, I was like, uh-oh, that's it. Okay. Same thing. I agree with you, Don. I thought that was very strange. Very strange, and the heat went deflated big time.
Bottles, did you think the same thing, or what did you think?
I think that Adam Copeland is just another guy. He came in with a lot of pomp and circumstance. He's just another guy in AEW. He's another guy that's past his prime. He's past his sell-by date. He's one spear away from being paralyzed from the neck down, and everyone told him not to go, but he went anyway. Because WWE wanted to put him at the pasture and bring him out for special events. And this is what you've got. This is what you got to work with. You get to work with your best friend of 40 years, 45 years, Christian Cage. And Christian Cage and his cosplaying dinosaur son and his mildly retarded other son with the geometric haircut, Nick Wayne. It boggles my mind that Adam Copeland will want to be a part of all this and think this is good TV. I was drinking heavy when this happened. I was drinking real heavy last night.
And judging by the comments, we're not the only ones that thought they should have never touched. Something should have interfered here to stop this from happening. Somebody yank him out. Somebody take the spear from him. But you don't let your two big guys in an angle touch each other. Just ridiculous, stupid shit. And then the next match, we could just run through this because the most exciting part of this match
You skipped right over something. I don't think
so. I think I'm skipping. Okay, go ahead.
You skipped the big announcement.
Oh, shit. Is this when that happened?
Yes. The big announcement. The big announcement that had everyone tuned in, all 832,000 people, because I know that if he didn't billboard a big announcement for this show, they would have had 700,000 people watching this shit fest. It was Nigel McGuinness, who could barely put a coherent sentence together. Is backstage. He was struggling. He was backstage with Tony Khan, and Nigel McGuinness had the look on his face of, what am I doing here? And Tony Khan said the big announcement was finally a success of All In, setting the all-time indoor attendance record, which is bullshit.
Yeah.
Next year's show will be August 25th, and tickets go on sale 1 month from today, December 1st.
Wow.
And he said, the other part of this, I mean, what a complete and total asshat. We're having the holidays come up, or at my parents' house, they've had the Christmas tree up since July. What? You're such a goddamn dork. You are the biggest mark I've ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. And his big announcement was you can buy tickets for my show almost a year from now in December. That was his big announcement. Why didn't they save the Ric Flair thing for that? Why wasn't that the big announcement? I mean, seriously, why wasn't that the big announcement? Ric Flair signing would have made sense. It really would.
That would have been a big announcement.
Big time. That would have been a big announcement.
You know, if they would have said Ric Flair will be the final opponent for Sting in March. If they would have announced that, people would have said, "What?" And everybody would have been talking. Everybody would have been talking. It would have been bad, but everybody would have been talking. Now people are just talking about how bad the show was.
Yep.
Bad.
Look, everyone knows that he bought the seats in Wembley. He bought the seats. We all know that. Everyone knows. Everyone with some common sense and how this works.
He did not buy 10,000 seats. You're a liar. You're a liar, sir.
He dropped the price at the last minute of the majority of those seats. He had seat fillers in the stadium, and to fill up the seats that he paid for, that he bought, 10,000 seats just to get him over the top. And the reason why they're announcing it right now, that they're going to go on sale December 1st, is so that maybe somebody will buy tickets for someone for the holidays, and they've got enough time to see how many seats they're actually going to sell.
Right. I'm going to buy some for you sons of bitches and send it to you at Christmas. That's going to be y'all's Christmas
You go
gift.
ahead and do that, and I'll wipe my ass on the ticket you buy me, and I'll send it back to you as a special gift. All I can say is, Don, when you get it, pardon the corn. That's all I can say.
God.
I have a big announcement to make. Big announcement right here.
What do you got, pal?
Time constraints. I got to go pick up Mrs. Motor.
All right.
Let's just say bless you guys. Thanks to the SCM crew and everybody watching. You guys continue on and keep kicking ass. Peace out.
Get that damn Jeep fixed.
Yes, sir.
Let me know when you're doing that classic rock podcast, pal.
Coming up soon. Peace,
Coming up
guys.
soon?
Yes, sir.
Let me know, pal. Let me know.
That's right, Larry. I am going to get 2 for 1, and they're going to get it. And if you don't watch it, I'm going to get you one too. Be buying everybody 2 for 1 tickets for the AEW show that nobody will attend.
All you got to do is buy the hamburgers, pal.
That's it.
Hey, buy the hamburgers and fries, you get a ticket free.
The next part of the show, now that we can move on, is the part that I really want to get into, because it wasn't even the match. It wasn't the. My man, is this guy really going by Daddy Magic? Like, that's your wrestling name? That's your wrestling name is Daddy Magic and Cool Hand Ang?
Ange. His name is Angelo Parker, so the A-N-G is Ange. Those are names that Chris Jericho gave him. The little water-headed boy, the little fat boy with the waterhead, Daddy Magic. Daddy Magic can actually talk. He's got the gift of gab. He would be better suited as a color commentator for one of these shows, as opposed to Nigel McGuinness. Angelo Parker, he would make a good jobber. They used to be at NXT. I forgot what their name was at NXT. They didn't do anything of any notoriety. They're Canadians. They came down, went to Florida, and then they got cut by NXT, and they got signed right away to AEW.
They can go away, because the best part of this whole thing,
absolutely, it's terrible.
The craziest shit about this was Paul White coming out after this match, looking like he could barely stand on a leg. His legs looked like they were barely holding him up. And I'm not trying to make fun of the guy. I'm not trying to rip on the guy, man. But he looked. I mean, it was sad to look at, because wrestling takes such a beating on these guys. Kevin Nash a few years ago showed a picture of his knees, right? And they were literally bowed out from all the hits and power slams, everything else he had taken. I mean, can we zoom in on that? My God, dude. Look at his weight. It's all on that one right leg in the back. He's just hunched to the right, man.
Right here, because this left leg is shot, and he's got a huge-ass knee brace on this leg.
And a support brace on it as well. He had a knee brace and a support brace on it. It just looked bad, man. It was bad looking.
From the waist down, he's wrecked. He's done. You got to consider these hips and the knees were carrying around almost a 500-pound frame for years, taking bumps, falling out of the ring, suplexes off the top turnbuckle, you name it.
Not to mention all the extra weight it took on when he was picking up guys like Kane to body slam him, and The Undertaker and Cena and all those other guys. It was just...
Dude, he couldn't make it down the ramp.
No, he was not coming down that ramp.
He could
That
not
shit
make
was
it down
not
the ramp.
happening.
He waved Kyle Fletcher to come in to eat a soup bone. That's how bad off this guy is. Look at his face. Look at his face. He's miserable. He can hardly freaking move. There's no muscle tone whatsoever to this guy. He's not working out because his body can't handle it.
I mean,
here's a better shot of him. A little bit bigger, I guess, right? A little bit bigger. And when you go back, here's Kevin Nash.
Yeah, look at that picture. Just bowed in, dude.
This is Nash before he had the surgery on his leg.
Before he had the surgery, yes.
Yeah, same problem. It's these large guys when they wrestle and they take those bumps and they carry around another man's weight in addition to their own. This is what happens to them. Now you can argue that Kevin Nash didn't take a lot of bumps in his career. He rarely left his feet. That's true. But he did pick up guys.
Yeah.
Who
that
were
power bomb was his finisher. He was power bombing 250-pound men.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I just feel bad. We don't have to dwell on it anymore. That's what I saw. That's what really. I mean, I called you as soon as it happened. I was like, "You've got to see this tonight. Tonight, Bottles. You've got to see this. This shit made me feel bad." So, God bless him. Moving on. What was next, now? Bottles? That was worth the shit. It's after this. So I think it was the women's match, which was right after this, which wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad women's match.
It was serviceable.
I thought it was okay. I
was sports entertained. Willow Nightingale is happy-go-lucky. She gives her best effort. She's a large girl. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Hikaru Shida is a workhorse. 3 championship defenses in a week. She wrestled 3 times in a week defending that title with all the shows.
It wasn't terrible, like I said. The more I see Willow Nightingale, the more I like her. I really am. She looks like she really cares. The girl is a great face. She's always, like you said, bubbly personality.
Right.
I like her in this role now. I'm curious, in a year or two when she's got to go back and change it up and go heel if she's going to be able to make that transition. But so far, I'm liking what I see out of her. So
yeah. After that, we had MJF and the Acclaimed. Once again, they approached him backstage, and you know what happens then.
It's just. Why are we drawing this out into something? Why is he involved in it's like the damn he's just involved in everything, man. He's all they got. I feel like he's all they got and they're trying to bleed.
They know that.
They're trying to drain it dry, man.
They know that. Let me ask you this question, Don. Ric Flair was on last week's show on Dynamite.
Yep.
Didn't draw a rating. In fact,
did not draw a rating.
The ratings went down. The ratings went down for that segment. So why would you sign Ric Flair to a multi-year deal? Why would you do that?
Because it's going to grab a headline from the WWE. It's the only reason. You're thinking short-term game right now. I mean, you really are. He's going to be at the pay-per-view now. I'm sure of that. Sure of that.
Is his daughter's contract coming up?
It doesn't matter if it is or not.
Would she jump? Would she jump?
Go.
You don't think so?
No. Not a chance. She's getting paid millions to sit where she is right now. You do not pull that. She's not desperate. Her husband's over there. The guy that her husband went over there to work with left. So now he's like, oh, shit. He already tried to leave more than once. He was told if you punch, what's that kid's name? Sammy Guevara. If you punch Sammy Guevara, I'm going to send you home. Whack! All right, I'm out of here.
Yep.
I mean, it is what it is. Willow Nightingale got her last 2 shots in the Fatal 4-Way number 1 contenders match for that. She lost Chris Statlander. Yeah, I mean, she's losing a lot, but, it is what it is.
No. She lost the number 1 contenders match. So why is she still getting a championship shot? Because
Tony,
there's no continuity. There's no continuity. There's no continuity to the show.
I don't try to make sense of it now. Where there is sense to be made, I try to make it. The best part of the show to me was Chris Jericho getting into it with the Young Bucks. That was the best part of the show to me. That was it.
The shirtless Chris Jericho. That's a man he needs to wear a shirt.
But it got me to laugh because the Young Bucks were like, clean this locker room when you're done. And he just throws the water out of his head. Clean that up, Young Bucks. I thought it was great. That was it. After that, we can just run through this. We don't have to drag this thing out anymore. The 8-man tag team was just...
My big takeaway from this, it's MJF and Billy Gunn, Daddy Ass, and the Acclaimed, who one of them is in some sort of unrequited love affair with MJF. They wrestled Billy Gunn's two sons.
Yep.
Colton Gunn, and what's the other one's name? It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. Austin Gunn, and Switchblade Jay White, and Juice Robinson. Juice Robinson's got a lot of charisma. He's Mr. Tony Storm. He's married to Tony Storm. God bless him. God bless him. And Switchblade Jay White, a lot of charisma there. I never thought he had it in him when they said they were bringing him in, but he's actually an entertaining part of the show, those two guys are.
It took him a while to get his footing. It took him a while.
Right. And when they put him on Collision, and they used him a lot in main events with FTR and Juice Robinson, they was tagging with Juice against FTR and Collision. That's when he came into his own. They say, hey, we got something with this guy.
Yeah.
So they started bringing him over back to the main show. And now here he is. He's running around with MJF's championship belt. The guy that pinned Kenny Omega last week on Dynamite, or Collision, I should say, on Collision, MJF gets pinned by Switchblade Jay White in the main event of Dynamite.
Yep.
Your world champion gets pinned. He's the guy who pinned Kenny Omega for the streak of longest reigning AEW champion. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you pin Max Caster or Anthony Bowens? Why pin your champion? Nothing's gained by that. Nothing.
Well, it gives you that doubt going into the pay-per-view match that he's going to lose to him. I don't think it's even going to be remotely close. That you can't take the belt off him to that guy. I don't give a shit. Whatever it is. But did you see, and this relates to what's going on there.
Saw it all.
The frustration report within AEW, the creative frustration.
Oh, yes. Often talent would show up to the shows, and they wouldn't know what they're going to be doing that night. And so maybe an hour or two before the show, a la Vince McMahon when he was running creative in WWE.
The best part about this whole thing was Jerry Lynn trying to defend what's going on there, saying, well, the wrestlers, they talk to these dirt sheet writers, everybody else. The goddamn Booker's talking to the dirt sheet writers. What are you talking about? You're going to try to blame the wrestlers when it's your own owner doing this shit? Come on, dude.
The EVPs are talking to the dirt sheet writers. And the dirt sheet writers, if you notice, in all the articles they're writing now and all the little podcasts they're doing, even Dave Meltzer is talking about how bad the attendance is for AEW, how bad the writing is. Him and Alvarez castigated this show on Wrestling Observer Radio early this morning. When I say early this morning, I'm talking about midnight. Why?
You know why?
Why is that?
Because Tony Khan has quit taking his advice. That's why. Tony Khan has quit listening to Dave Meltzer and is running his show his way, and it's killing Dave Meltzer's soul. It's eating him every day. I don't want to dwell on it too much more. I think we've said about all that can be said about this show and the shit that happened this week in wrestling. Is there anything that we missed? Because I don't think there is. That little piece was the last piece of nugget I had.
Not on this show, buddy. Not on this show. Let's just look at some wrestling Twitter right now, shall we? NXT. Cool. NXT ratings. 787,000.
Yeah. I thought they were down to 600.
Oh, I got the wrong one.
I thought they were down to like 600 something.
Yes, you are correct. I got the night the week before. Yeah, I got the week before. They were down to 600. They're right by where they should be. Right where they. It's a sweet spot. Right where they should be.
I mean, that's where they should be. I mean, there's no big marquee stars on there. It's back to being the developmental program. They still got to sell it. I mean, it's going to keep happening. So we'll see.
If you look at the two big companies, AEW and WWE, if you look at where they stack up against what they did throughout the year, AEW Dynamite is down 10% over last year. Rampage is down 20%. WWE NXT. NXT is up 23%. SmackDown's only up 2%. The number one wrestling show on TV. For ratings-wise, that is.
Yeah,
and quality, you might say.
Yeah, but when I look at those ratings,
Hang on. Here's the outlier. WWE Raw is down 9%.
I think you're probably going to see that continue because of the Monday Night Football fight that they have every week. You're just not going to beat that monster right now. You're just not.
Last ratings quarter, they were down 10%. Now they're down 9%, so they pop back up a little bit, but not that much.
Well, I'm going through, Johnny. I think we hit it all today, and we're going to do it in an hour.
Let's look at the WWE merchandise sellers for the month of October. God. Who do you think? Who do you think's in the mix?
Who do I think? It's Rhea Ripley or it's
no women.
No women. Okay.
I've got the top 5.
LA Knight, Cody Rhodes.
Number 1.
LA Knight, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, John Cena.
No Roman Reigns.
No Roman Reigns.
John Cena on his comeback tour is number 2.
Okay.
Cody Rhodes is number 3. Right. Number 4, a name from the past, who I would love to see come back.
Stone Cold?
You got it. Number 4.
Yep.
And Jey Uso, believe it or not, is number 5.
See, that's something, if we end up doing our show tomorrow that we're talking about, that's something I want to cover and get into, is that. Like, you're hitting on what I would like to talk about.
Here's what Meltzer said in that Wrestling Observer Radio episode that they made free on YouTube that I watched today on the state of AEW. The thing that AEW has to do is figure out a way to become cool again.
Here
because right now, there's so much that is said and written and everything like that makes it seem uncool. A lot of the stuff with the perception that it's like the Tony Khan perception, the rich guy who's doing such a bad job, which really isn't the case. Sorry, Dave, it is.
Oh, my God. That's the exact thing that it is. That's exactly what it is. The rich guy's doing a shitty job.
The quality of the shows is actually pretty good.
Lord have mercy.
Although there are things that obviously need improvement, there's no doubt, and there will always be, whatever that means. And the numbers are down from what they were. It's certainly not as hot as it was. You think?
I got nothing else. I'm done.
Did you see the interchange between Randy Orton and Tony Khan that hit the internet today on Twitter? It was resurfaced. This goes back to 2019. Someone retweeted it. This goes back to CM Punk in November 18th, 2019. Said, "It's weird trying to catch up on 5 years of wrestling. I'm doing what I can. There's bright spots, mostly women from what I can tell. There's bad too. I'm going to talk about it and no one's safe. Join us." This is when he was on that Fox TV show on FS1. WWE Backstage, when he was on there with Paige, Booker T, and Renee Young.
And who said this now?
CM Punk said this.
Okay.
He was on that show on Fox Sports.
Yeah, I remember that. And Fox was the one that wanted them to bring back CM Punk from what I read. They wanted him to come back and wrestle. He didn't want to wrestle. They didn't want to sign him. And here we are 5 years later, and he's going to end up in Chicago.
So, from what he just said in that tweet, Tony Khan replied, "No one's safe? Sounds like I'm playing full of wrestlers in Saudi Arabia." And Randy Orton replied to Tony Khan, "What's that whole thing about glass houses and stones?" Then Tony Khan said, "I thought you only tagged me in your post when you're grasping for leverage. That article's over a year old and baseless claims made about my dad years ago. That's the best you can do, nothing. Meanwhile, in the time since that was written, you used the N-word on Twitch." And Randy Orton wrote, "To Jacksonville, Dixie," meaning Dixie Carter. "Why else would I tag you? If I wanted to talk business, I'd call your father."
Nice. That's a roast.
That's a roast. Cooked by Randy Orton.
So
back in 2019.
Back to business. Are we going to try to do a different show tomorrow? Maybe a quick little half hour?
I think you can look for that show tomorrow. It's 7 o'clock. We'll do a half hour, maybe 45-minute run. Whatever you want to talk about.
I want to talk about one of my favorite wrestling angles of all time, and that was the Jake the Snake Roberts versus Macho Man Randy Savage angle. I want to talk about that.
Let's do it.
All right. Sounds good, guys.
Folks, I like to say that If you enjoyed what you saw today, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Squared Circle Maniacs. You can hit the like button for us if you don't want to subscribe. Hit the like button. The like button throws off the YouTube algorithm and moves up into your searches. When you search for wrestling-related content on YouTube, we'll come up somewhere in your search feed if you hit the like button. And please subscribe, and so we can grow this channel. And we have a lot of football content on Wednesday nights.
On Wednesday
6
night,
o'clock.
yep.
Squared Circle Gridiron. We have Classic Rock Echoes. Motorhead and I. Sometimes we do a Classic Rock Echoes, a Classic Rock centric podcast, and we do the Pro Wrestling podcast. And we're going to do a special podcast on Fridays at 7. Just very, very limited right before SmackDown comes on. Check us out. We've got a lot of old podcasts on here from the past. Some great interviews, especially that Guy Evans guy.
Guy Evans was amazing.
The Guy Evans guy who wrote Nitro, a book that you should pick up.
And if you haven't read
love
Nitro,
professional
I
wrestling,
highly encourage it. It is the business of pro wrestling and how this shit gets crazy backstage. It's one of the craziest, best books I've read in wrestling. Blew my mind. Still to
absolutely. I like to talk about some other guys in the SCM. I like to give a shout out to Motorhead, of course, who was here earlier. Motorhead is the leader of the SCM. If you want to join the Squared Circle Maniacs Twitter group, all you have to do is look for Motorhead711 on Twitter and send him a private message, and he'll respond to you. He's very, very good about that. I like to throw a little love out there to Positively Chris. He's a member of the SCM. Positively Chris has a YouTube channel. It's a self-help YouTube channel. It's called Ignite That Light. And he's
very much not us. He is a very positive guy, looks on the bright side of everything. It's amazing we came across him.
Exactly. It's amazing that he wants to hang out with a bunch of negative bastards like us.
It really
and look for the work of Mike Digital. Mike Digital, is it 2 I's in digital?
I don't
back
think
to
so.
back?
I think it's just Dijital.
Dijital. Mike Digital. He's a music impresario. He's fantastic.
Dude, he's talented. He's just talented.
It's amazing some of the stuff he comes up with. And check him out, the Mike Digital, with a J, not a G, on YouTube. Check out Ignite That Light. Check out all the other content that we have on the Squared Circle Maniacs YouTube channel. And with that, Don, what do you think we have? Anything else? Anything else you want to talk about?
That's it, brother. That's all we got.
Pagey Mr. Soley. Pagey Mr. Soley.
Until next week, Gordon Soley saying so long from the Sunshine State.